Welcome to my channel Ana Lana. Para video en español está abajo en la caja de descripción. If you click the cat that is next to Ana Lana, you will see the list of all my videos. And today I'm going to show you how I made this sweater with just leftover yarns. When I made these sweaters, I end up with more yarn leftover because it seems like I always buy more than what I need. So maybe the same thing happens to you. I encourage you to go ahead and look through your leftover yarns and select the ones that are similar in quality, I would say, and then let's start. It's not so bad. Even a little bit can contain enough to make one of these rectangles. For example, this one is 28 grams, and this one is a little bit bigger, 107 grams, and that little ball is just 85 grams. So my whole sweater took around 400 grams of yarn. The final sweater was about 47 centimeters or 18.5 inches width, and the length was 22 inches. All right, so this sweater is a small size, and let's start. I started with 24 points. That was on the width, and then the length, it was around 31 rows for each rectangle. However, because this is rather a small sweater, if you want to make it wider and bigger, so please just do more stitches. Don't start with 24, start with 27 or 30, because a couple of those stitches will be gone when you are putting together the pieces, when you are joining them. And right now I'm going to start casting 24 points to start this sweater. Okay, so I already have done several rectangles, but let me show you how I'm changing the colors. So I'm making a long string of rectangles, and here I cut the yarn, and I'm going to pass the first one and make the change of colors in the second stitch. And then I'm going to knit one, and I will continue knitting. So I'm making a long string. In total will be 3 rectangles at the front, 3 at the back, and the middle piece as well. But on the sides, the lateral strings, I'm making them straight, long, going through the shoulder and getting until the end at the back. So I don't have to join pieces at the shoulder. There will be just one piece straight. As we are combining the colors, just remember that there are 2 strings now, 2 strands of yarn, and we are going just to do 2 knots. One is from the prior color and the other one is with the new color, but we just want to make sure that the piece is not going to fall apart. And now we are going to continue. So when putting the parts together, I'm trying to make the lines, the continuation, straight. So I just finished the 2 lateral parts, and I'm working on the centerpiece that is going to be for the collar. Okay, so we are going to do that little U, but it's going to be very subtle. Okay, so for this center part, what I did was I was knitting 16 rows, and then here, because I have 24, I'm going to separate 5 in each side, and I'm going to close the 14 in the center, and then I will start working on that. Okay, so I make a replica of the center part so I can show you how the U is getting formed. So we have 24 stitches. Now, I did 16 rows, and now I put a marker I separate 5 stitches at the end, 5 stitches at the beginning, and then I'm going to be closing the 14 stitches that are in the middle, because that will be the center of the sweater. Now, once we start knitting that part, let's go with that. So I pass the first one, and then I'm going to be just knitting the first 5 points, and that's the marker, and then we continue closing it. So we need 2, and then the first loop we will go put it over the second loop, and again we need the next one, and we take the first loop and put it over the second loop, and we are going to continue closing it that way until we get to the marker. Okay, I already closed the center part, and now I'm going to start knitting on the side of the shoulder, I will call it, but this is going to be our first reduction. I pass the first one, take the next 2 stitches together, just knit them, and then knit 1 and knit 2. You turn the work, pass the first one, and then knit, purl, and now you are going to purl together the next final 2. So now we have 3 left, and you are going to turn the work, and I'm going to pass the first one and just knit the next 2 together. And now we just have 2 left, and those 2 left, we just turn the work, and we are going to just purl, but we will take them together, and we are going to end up with just 1 stitch. So we are forming already the U, and now we are going to do exactly the same thing for the other side. We are going to start with the 5 stitches and then just start reducing 1 stitch per row. So now we are going to start putting the pieces together. I already started with the needle, with the tapestry needle, but now I want to try with the crochet hook. So we are going to be just putting the pieces face to face on the right side. So we are going to be facing the wrong side, and I'm going to be attaching the piece of yarn to the sweater, and I'm going to make a little knot so the yarn will stay there. Okay, so we pass the hook through that first stitch. Remember that when we are knitting, we are passing the first stitch, so that's the one that we are taking. Here it goes. We are passing it through, just under the first stitch, and we are doing a slip stitch. So again, pass it through, and then we are going to pull the yarn and do a slip stitch, and we are going to continue like that. It's going to be easy because it's easy to undo it in case you made a mistake. All right, so you already have 2 styles, 2 ways of joining the parts together. You can continue with the crochet style, or you can continue with the needle. The crochet sometimes is a little thicker, but let me just show you how it looks. It looks very neat, very even. So it's up to you. Bottom line is going to look the same in the outside. So to have a better sense of what I'm doing, I need to put the pieces on the table, and then joining them with a little pins. Here I have to redo that part because it's not even. But anyway, you will put the markers to make sure that things are symmetric. And this time I'm going to continue with the tapestry needle and see how it goes. But now you know both styles, and then you can just continue the way that you feel more comfortable with. However, just remember, put the pieces together on a table so you have an idea of how things are going, and you want the lines perhaps to be straight, but it's up to you. This is a free form. Okay, so we are moving along, and now is the time to start working on the sleeves. I have exactly the same amount of yarn for both sides. I divide the leftover in two. So now I just put a marker in the very top of the shoulder in the middle, and I'm making sure that the two parts, front and back, are parallel, because I'm going to be measuring it, the space for the sleeves. And now in this case, so I'm putting it together, and in this case I do have 27 centimeters, which is 10 and a half long inches. And now I'm putting a marker there, and I'm putting it at the back, and what I'm going to do is pass through the needle, and I'm going just to pull the yarn. Remember, I have a video of how to do this. I'm going to leave the video as well, so in case you need more details, I'm going to leave it in the description box. So I'm going to pull the yarn, and now I'm going just to bring it up, and now I'm going to be knitting a total of 7 stitches, and then I will do an increase. So every 7 stitches, but I'm going to go doing this until the top, and then I'll be counting just to see how many stitches I have, and I will be repeating the same thing towards the back. So that's the 7, and in the 8 I did, so 1, 2, so just do 7 or 6 and 1, 6 and 1, or 7 and 1. It doesn't really make a difference. It will be 1 or 2 stitches more. So just continue like that. So I got to the top of the shoulder, and now I counted, and I have 26 points. So I'm going to just go to the way down, and I'm going to be knitting 7 and then increasing 1. 7 increasing 1. So 1, 2, 3. So basically you increase 2 or 3 in the total side, and that makes the shoulder a little bit, the sleeve a little bit looser. That's it. So total points will be 52 points, and we are going to continue straight down, no reductions, nothing, until we get to the cuff. Okay, so this is a jersey stitch. So now we turn the work, and we are going to do purl. We pass that, and we are going to continue that way. One way will be knitting, and the other way will be purling, until we run out of color. And then we'll have to change colors, and then finally we will do the cuff. Okay, so I just ran out of the second color, and it's perfect because it's the right size. And now I have exactly the same amount for the other sleeve. So it should be looking exactly the same. Now is the time for us. I was lucky, it just ended up at the end of the row. It's the time for us to change to this other color, but I'm going to start making reductions for the end of the sleeve. So I have 52, and I want to end up with 44. So I'm going to be reducing in this row 8 points. Okay, I'm always doing this differently. Okay, the first one, we are going to pass it, and I always change the colors in the second row, in the second stitch. Okay, so just because I have those two, so I'm going to continue purling, but before I continue, I want to just make a knot, so I make sure that the stitches don't fall apart. Actually, I do 2 knots just in case. And I'm going to continue purling, but I want to make the reduction. So the next 2 stitches, I'm going just to knit them together. I'm sorry, purl. I'm using the purl. So we do them together. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I do 2 together. Then I continue again with 6 and then 2 together. Bottom line, I want to end up with around 44 points. You can just assume 44, 45, depending on how wide do you need the cuff. And now for the next row, I'm going to change needles. Slip 1, and then it's going to be 1 purl, 1 knit, 1 purl, 1 knit. We are starting to do the elastic band at the end of the sleeve with 44 points. Okay, so I'm finishing this part and it's already 7 centimeters, which is short of 3 inches. And that is the length I want. So it's now the time to start finishing this part, to start closing it, but I want it closed with the Italian bind-off style. I do have a video about that, but I will just go briefly, but you can close it the way that you are used to. This time I want to do it the same way that I did this sweater. I really like it, but it takes a little bit longer. So I'm going to leave the video at the top, and let me just tell you, you just need the needle, the tapestry needle, put the yarn towards the back, and then you just pass the first one, and in the second before the last one, you just, but I think I explained that in 6 minutes in my video. So go ahead and watch it if you want this way. Okay, so we are continuing joining the parts together. Just when you put the piece like this, you see a row with the stitches. You see those V's. Okay, so we are going to be looking between the first row and the second. You see that there is that little belly, that little stitch in the middle. So that's what you are going to be doing. Looking for that little one in between the first and the second lines, or the first and second rows. I don't know how to explain it, but you will continue. So you put the pieces parallel, the 2 sides parallel, and then you will see these stitches. And just take in the middle, that is that little belly, and here the stitch, and then between the first and the second one, you will find it. And now we got to the collar. This is an easy one. I just put the video of how to do this when I was just doing this one. You are going to be using one crochet hook smaller than what the yarn usually calls for. In this case, I'm using the 5 because this yarn is calling for number 6, the 6 millimeter. So we are going to be passing through the yarn, starting at the shoulder, and I'm going to be chaining 9 stitches. Okay, so I make 9 chains and I'm going to be turning, so do yarn over, and then in the number 1, which is the 8th, we are going to do a double crochet. Okay, so yarn over and pass it through. Okay, again, yarn over and pass it through, pull it, 2 and 2. So we are going to end up doing 8 double crochets until we get to the bottom part. Then I'm going to measure just the base because I'm done with those 8 points. So I'm just putting that on the base of the collar, and I will make a slip stitch. Now, the next point, I will make another slip stitch because that's where I'm going to start turning the work and going up. So now I'm going to do 1 single crochet in each of the external loop. I'm going to use the loop on the other side because this is going to be an elastic band. So just remember, do the loop, take the loop, the outside loop. So we are doing 8, and just make sure you count just in case. 7, I need 1 more. Sorry, this was the 6, 7, and now the very last one, just pass it through the whole point because we don't want any spaces. Now I chain 2, and I will start making double crochets going down. Okay, just remember, count because you don't want this band to start getting larger or narrower. And you do 8 again, and at the base you will be attaching it with a slip stitch and just skip 1 or 2 points. That's it. Or you actually, if the space of the neck is not too wide, don't skip too many stitches on the base. Let me just show you. This is the last one, and I'm just going to do it on the next point, and this is the slip stitch, and you will continue like that until you get to the end. Okay, so I got to the last part. I did the last column, and now I'm going to be just joining the 2 parts. So I'm going to put the two ends parallel, and I'm going to be passing through each loop the crochet hook. So you see the loops that I'm seeing, I'm just passing it through and having a slip stitch. So pass it through, pull the yarn and do a slip stitch. And that way you will be closing it and we will be done. And at the end we are just going to be fixing the little anomalies of the little bigger spaces, things like this. We are going to be using this yarn and using a tapestry needle, and that's how we are going to end up fixing it. Okay, so these are the last touches of the collar, and now I think it's perfect. Well, I'm here thinking that I'm about to finish everything. At least I finished with the collar, with the sleeves, with the cuffs, but this is the part that is making me crazy. I've been trying to finish the waistband, and I was even thinking about the title of the video saying, "Oh, sweater in just 2 days," but it's driving me crazy. Let me just tell you what happened. I started doing the waistband with a crochet. So I did like 10 or 12 stitches of crochet, but it was getting very heavy. For the collar, it's very good because it looks firm, but at the bottom, you don't need something so heavy. So unfortunately, it didn't work. I had to undo the work. But then I started doing this waistband that is in the garter stitch. It's all in the same direction, all in the right side, knitting, knitting, knitting. And so I'm there. However, I noticed that with the garter stitch, it takes me longer. There are people that can knit very fast with this, but with me, it's taking me a while. So let me just tell you how I do this kind of edging, because it will be easy to put it, but it looks nice at the bottom as well. So you are going to put the yarn at the back, just pull it towards the back, and then the first stitch, you are just taking it out. And now you are going to start knitting all the stitches. I have 16 stitches, by the way. So I'll be doing all the 16 stitches on the right side, knitting. And now, when you finish, you will just turn the work and keep the yarn towards the back. That way, we'll start forming the edge. You see that nice edging? And the first stitch, you are just going to pass it through, and you will continue knitting all the other stitches until you get the desired length. So to see how long I have to continue, I measure it against my body, against my hip. The sweater is wider, so you don't look at the sweater as a measuring point. Just wrap this waistband around your hips, and then when it gets to the point that you know that you can join the two sides, then you can stop. You are not going to make it extremely tight, although you can block this. But remember that also, if you make it too long, this is elastic and they may get wavy. So make it just to the body, right? Stretch it and put it around your body, around your hips, and then we will be able to just connect it to the sweater. And the sweater will just fall nicely next to the waistband. I'm going to show you how to do that. I like to leave this piece, the ending piece, towards the sweater because it's going to be easier to hide it. Okay, so this is an easy process. Let me just show you how. Okay, I already finished that, and now I'm at the point of joining the two ends together. So I'm going to take one loop from each side, this loop, and then I'm going to connect it with the inside loop of the other side. And I'm going to just to continue doing that until I close the waistband. Okay, this is how it looks it looks pretty good. Now we are going to start attaching this piece to the sweater. Okay, so we are putting the waistband next to the sweater, and we are attaching it on the sides with pins. So we have the beginning secure and the ending as well. And we are going to start sewing, taking one loop from the top and one loop from the bottom, one stitch from the top actually, because I like to go a little further, and then the loop from the bottom, and we are attaching it together. Remember, because it's an elastic band, you can use loop by loop. In the meantime, the loops from the sweater, they're going to be more spaced. So just put it together, and you can start working it out like that and start looking as it goes through. At least do half a sweater, and then you can see if it's going okay. Okay, so this is the easy part. And this is the final result. It came out nice. And if you like the video, please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't done so. That way you will get notifications for my next projects. Thank you for coming to Ana Lana.